All right, good afternoon, everybody. If you are here in the US, joining us on YouTube, Facebook, we say good afternoon to you. And if you are in Liberia, we say good evening to you and listening to us on Freedom FM 87.9. I want to thank the guys in studio. Chris, Sa, I say thank you so much for everything you do for us behind the scene. Christopher, thank you. We appreciate you. And we appreciate the 87.9 Family Freedom FM. And those of you who are joining us from any parts of the world, we say thank you for joining us. Please share the broadcast and thank you for your continued support. And we will continue to bring you information, continue to bring you detailed information on researching some things before we can even go live with that piece of information. Today, though, I'm going to be talking about two different things. I'm going to try to talk about two things. I think you've already seen our bulletin. We want to talk about one of the things that we want to talk about is this new Liberia transportation management being outsourced to a private company. We'll be talking about that, but then we'll also be talking about something that I've always wanted to talk about since our president came to the US and had this meeting with President Trump. And that is something I'm going to kind of get into and just give my take on before we really get into the meat of our discussion here today. But I think the good place to start actually is to start with this whole um, maybe about, I want to say, maybe a week or so ago, a week or so, maybe 2 weeks now, there was a protest taking place at the Ministry of Transport, and this protest, we have come to know that it was actually, that's exactly what it was, a protest that was actually protesting the official turnover of the traffic management to LTM, which is this new private company. It's a foreign backed private firm that was granted this 25-year concession to come and manage all of our traffic and all of these different things. When I first heard the story, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. Hearing the story, I started thinking to myself, I said, maybe it is a good thing. Maybe it is a good thing for us to actually have a portion of the transport ministry, the work that they are doing there, to be passed over to another company, and let these people just be focused on just doing this one aspect of their job. Because when you have divisional labor, and in Liberia, we have said many times that many hands make light, work light, right? And so when you have people actually having a piece of job to do, maybe just a section of the work to do, in my opinion, it is easier and it makes things a little bit better. And you can see exactly where you are falling short and where you're going. And I did not have any problem with it at first. But the more I listen to people, though, the more I listen to people and hear from other people's viewpoints, and I think that's the logic. That is exactly what we should do. We should not just be close minded. We should hear stories from different points of view and be able to make an informed decision. Hearing from other people's viewpoints and just hearing what they're saying and some of the concerns they have and the job loss and all these different things from the transport ministry, it makes sense for us to kind of go back and take a step back and reevaluate and say, wow, is this the right thing to do? Now, one of the questions I was not able to answer, though, and I would not be able to answer here for you, is the question of why did it take so long for this to now be implemented? Because this goes way back to 2018 when it was first introduced, and that has been on hold. The WIA administration did not go forward with it, and I would love to know why was the holdup? Why was it not carried through? Why is it that it took so long before now the Barker administration is pushing this forward? And so we'll look at some of the pros and some of the cons and look at all of these different things. But, I would start with, you know, let's start with the good news. If we start with the good news and say, okay, now it is not the entire transport ministry that will be shut down. It is not the entire transport ministry that is going out of business, so to speak. Now, basically, though, you may look at this and say, look, this is controversial and this is going to be something that will hurt the morale of the transport ministry. But basically, what this does, it takes section of the work that was being done. I mean, look for example, right? You have When I was a little boy going to school in Liberia, we used to have those two ministries called the Ministry of Information, Culture, and Tourism. It was combined, right? It was combined. It was combined. And basically, what was happening at the time, it did appear that you actually had the information part of that ministry really being the voice. Okay, you have the information part of that ministry being the voice. But now, what was happening, the tourism aspect of that ministry was not in place at all. And so having it separated and have the tourism arm of that ministry be an entity of itself, I think it gives the opportunity for tourism, for that particular department, that tourism department, to really just focus on tourism for Liberia. And in my opinion, again, that's a great thing. And so now we'll go to the traffic management thing. Officially, I think it was July 16, the government of Liberia, they turned over certain portion of what the Ministry of Transport is doing. They pass it over to LTM, which is backed by a foreign firm. They pass it over to LTM. They say, LTM, you are going to be doing certain portion of our traffic management. And basically, these guys they are not taking over every function of the transport ministry. But what LTM is going to be doing, LTM is going to be responsible for vehicle registration. So, say for example, that was actually being done at the transport ministry. But now, say for example, if you Riverset Pro, you send your car to Liberia and you ship your car from the US and send it to Liberia, it used to be that maybe your brother took it to transport ministry, they register the car, they got license, they got all of these different things. But now the government library is saying, no, 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 no. We don't want transport ministry to actually take over that work anymore. We want a special arm called the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated. We want this branch to be now responsible for just doing the selected piece of work. And this is not a new idea, though. Let us be very clear. This was introduced way back in 2018, during George Weah administration, but it was not implemented. It was not followed through. It is just now recently that Joseph Boakai administration, the UP administration, is now pushing this thing through to make it to be what it is today. And of course, as anyway, as with anything in our country, people are going to protest. People are going to say, well, we don't see any reason. If anything that has to do with transportation, it should just be with transport ministry. Vehicle registration, driver's license, and all these different things, let it go to transport ministry. But this new branch, this new arm of the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated, what they're going to be doing, they are going to be responsible when it comes to traffic related incidents. Traffic related incidents. They are going to be responsible for all of this. They are going to make sure that if you are registering your vehicle, you are going to LTM. You are not going to transport ministry to register the car. If you are in need of driver's licensing, to get your driver's license, to get all of these things going, you are not going to transport ministry. You're going to the Traffic Management Incorporated. You're going to LTM to get that done. Now, in case of traffic violation, this is the part that I actually laughed at when I read the story. Now, in case of traffic violation, what they're going to do, this organization is also going to be responsible to work with the Liberia National Police to enforce traffic violation. And then don't ask me, those of you that have driven in Monrovia, don't ask me about the traffic violation thing. Don't ask me about it. Because you have, I can't wait to see how they implement that traffic violation. Because you have government officials, whether they are representatives, whether they are senators, whether it is the president, you have government officials creating an artificial third lane that does not exist. So driving in Monrovia by itself, if you can survive driving in Monrovia, you did great. You do something wonderful. I've driven there every time I go out drive. But driving over there, it is not easy. You are not just paying attention for pedestrian, you are also paying attention for another crazy driver that's coming towards you, creating so-called turn lane. And you are also paying attention for another driver who's about to swap you down. Or if you're on the other side of town, the Robert Fee Highway area, you are watchful for keke, for motorcycles. So driving in Monrovia is not easy. Now, this LTM, the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated, they are now going to be responsible to make sure that driving violation, all of these traffic violations, they are going to be responsible for making sure that it is investigated in conjunction with the Liberia National Police. And so these guys, they got some work to do. They are not just going to be sitting in the office. And basically, with all of this responsibility now going towards LTM, of course, you have people who are not going to be happy about that. And I think though, and this is just my opinion, this is my piece. I have no official report on this, but I think this again is in preparation for something very good, for something big to happen. Because part of the responsibility for this particular organization, they are also going to be responsible for collecting toll. Like the toll, here in the States, for example, I can just get on the toll road and I drive, and they will send me, if I don't have a toll tag, they will send me something in the mail and say, hey, you drove on this road, you owe us $2.25, whatever. They will send it to me. I'll pay that $2.25 online, or I will go ahead and mail it back to them with my $2.25 check in it. Whatever that is, that's how I pay my toll. I don't have a toll tag. So if I get in the tollway, they send me the ticket, I pay it, and we move on. Now, this organization also in Liberia, the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated, they are also going to be responsible for collecting toll. So again, I'm going there. We have heard rumors. We have heard all of these developmental ideas coming in that the government of Liberia intend to build highways, intend to build overpasses, intend to build tollway. Now, when that construction is done, and those tollways are actually accessible to drivers in Liberia, yes, they will be responsible to collect those toll fees. They will be collecting all of those extra fees for people who will be driving on that particular section of roads. And so that is another thing that this organization is going to be doing. And they are also going to be responsible for, freight trucks. They'll be managing. Right now, I don't think there's any regulation at all. You have trucks coming from Freeport, or coming from Ralphie, or coming from Buchanan, coming from Banga. All these trucks, they are oversized, they are overloaded. You have goods hanging on every end of these trucks. And sometimes their brakes are not even correct. You and I know sometimes when these trucks, when they collide with these kekes, when they collide with taxi, when they collide with anything in the country, it creates so much havoc in the country, and people lost their lives. People die from these unmonitored trucks in the country. And so this organization is also going to be responsible to, monitor the freights, the goods that come in, how oversized these trucks are, and manage those trucking companies to make sure that the goods that they are carrying, that these trucks are not just oversized and they are not just hanging one way or the other and things are falling on the other side. So this organization is going to be tasked with doing lots of things. They are not just doing one piece of work. And this is not, President Bwaka or President Weah, since they started during Weah time, but it was not implemented. But this is not the government of Liberia just coming up to say, look, we don't want someone to have a job at transport ministry, so we want to take all of this and give it to them. This is not that. I do understand, though, that our country, Liberia, is so politicized that everything that happens, whether good or bad, we try to play politics into it. But just like I said, this is not a novel idea. It's not a new idea. This actually started during Weah administration. So you cannot say, oh, UP is witch hunting. They want to get rid of people that we are. No. That's not what that is. It started during the administration. For whatsoever reason, it was not implemented during Weah administration. And President Bwaka is making sure that this actually, he thought it wise that this was a good idea, maybe based on the advice he got from his advisors, based on the advice that he got from council and all of these people. He thought it was that this will benefit the country and this is the best way to do it. And another thing that I do see here, which I truly believe to be a plus, is this whole idea of accountability. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, River says. It's just like the DMV, it's just like the DMV in the United States. You want your driver's license in the US, I don't go to, travel control or people on the other side and say, well, no, I go to the drive motor vehicle administration. I go there and get my license and process all my documents there. And 2 weeks later, my license is in the mail, it comes to me. Now, another thing I see here to be a beautiful thing for this organization, honestly, is the simple fact of accountability. People are going to be accountable because now when you go to transport ministry, sometimes you have no idea who's doing what. When you walk in front of that building, I've been there many two different locations. When you walk in front of that building, it just seems like it's a madhouse. You got people standing all in front of the building, all, and these are employees, quote unquote employees. Some of them are employees, some of them are just there hustling. They're there to do their own thing. As soon as you get to that place, oh my man, what are you here for? What can I help you to do? You're here for your driver's license, you're here for this, you're here for that. Everybody doing something to get something. Again, I'm not accusing of people of doing something, illegal, but when you walk there, you get overwhelmed. I went over there. I can tell you, I got out of there, but the way I got out of there, I had to drop something here, drop something here, drop something here before registering, whatever I needed to register. And I'm telling you, it is a madhouse. And so to cut away all of these things, to cut away all of the messiness, to cut away all of this side hustle, whoever is doing what, go directly to one point where you can do your point of sale. If I go to LTM, I say, look, I'm here to get my driver's license or to apply or to register my car. I process all my documents over there. Whatever requirement I'm required to give, I meet those requirements. My vehicle is registered, accountable. I get my document from LTM. I'm now legit to drive my car in Monrovia and maybe surrounding Liberia. I can use my registration and move on. Accountability. But sometimes when you go over there and somebody say, oh, just give me something, I'll go talk to my boss and give you and register your car. You might give that person something. Sometimes you don't even know these guys. You might give them something. They go inside that building and you standing out there waiting. They go inside and do all that little thing before they come by. They bring some kind of document and say, oh, I register your car. Here it is. Whether it is legit, whether it's not legit, sometimes you have no idea. You are at the mercy of what that person is telling you. Just say, oh, just relax. Let me go do other things. Sometimes you're lucky, they will come back to you. Sometimes you're not lucky, you're not going to see them again. And so to remove all of that confusion, to remove all that messiness, to remove all of the ups and downs, have an office set up, and that office is responsible for my driver's license. That office is responsible for my vehicle registration. If I go to that office and I need Mr. So-and-so employee, if Riverside Pro is my guy behind the desk who's responsible to take my payment and process my document, give me a receipt, I am good to go. I don't have to go here. I don't have to go there. Accountability. That organization is going to be responsible for the revenue it collects and report that to the treasury, to the Liberian treasury. Because sometimes when you go, you put money in this person hand, our transport ministry put money in that person hand, put money in this person hand, and that person come and give you documents, say, I register your vehicle. You have no idea where that money end up. Is it coming back to the Liberian revenue? You have no idea. You have no idea. And I heard one of the spokesperson from the transport ministry on another broadcast where he was talking about the amount of money that they have collected so far up to July of this year. He was talking about the amount. I mean, it sounded like a big amount of money, but as crowded as Monrovia is, with vehicles, with cars, with kekes, with motorcycles, as crowded as it is with those vehicles, traffic congestion, you would think the dollar amount that person listed, it would be a little bit more than what that person listed. And again, I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything that they are actually putting the money, collecting the money, and going sideways. But in reality, a lot of those things are happening, and even the minister and the deputy minister and the operation person, they have no idea those things are happening. Or they do have an idea, but they turn a blind eye. Because every day, there's no way you can tell me when you come in to go upstairs to your office, you see how crowded that place is. People pretending to be employees or they are employees of transport ministry, just waiting for someone to show up to do registration. You can't tell me you don't see those things. You see that, but maybe you turn a blind eye. And by turning a blind eye to that, what tends to happen, you embolden them, you empower them because there's no accountability. And so, taking this particular portion of the work and say, look, I am now going to designate an office that will be responsible for A, B, C, D, and E. And that particular arm of this particular organization is going to make sure accountability is done, resources are reported to the proper channel. I'm no longer just going to go and put money in someone else's hand, but it's now going to go to the government of Liberia. I think that's a beautiful thing. And I stand to be corrected. I stand to be corrected, guys. I like your opinion on this. I want to hear your opinion on this. But when we say we want to see some changes taking place in Liberia, when we say we want to see the country go somewhere, the country need to progress, the country need to go in a different direction. These are some of the changes that must take place. In a serious country, you have all of these things taking place. You don't have one branch of government just, one branch of department just controlling everything and money coming this way, going that way. No, it has to be done in such a way that when auditors enter LTM office 10 years from now or 5 years from now, when they enter LTM office, they should be able to perform an audit and be able to show systematically that as of August, because they officially took over July 16, I believe, as of August 2025 to August 2029 or whatever it is, this is the number of driver's licenses we collected in the country. We gave out in the country. This is the number of vehicles that we register in the country. And they should be able to audit that report and make sure, and this is what we submitted to LRA that went into the Liberian National Coffers. And they should be able to actually designate, show accountability where some of those things went. Right now, are we able to do that? I am not sure. I stand to be corrected. And that's why I like your opinion on this. And so to me, honestly, when you look at all of these bits and pieces, the division of labor and making sure that things are in the right places and things are being done correctly, I agree. Now, let's go to one of the fallback. Let's go to one of these unintended consequences, what people are protesting about. Now, the transport ministry, they look at this and say, oh, no, this is not a good thing. This is not a good thing. Because from time immemorial, we have always done this. This has always been with us. We have been responsible for vehicle registration. We have been responsible for you name everything you've been responsible for. They can list everything. And they are saying now, by removing the driver's license piece, by removing the vehicle registration piece, by turning all of these pieces over to LTM, you are going to make people jobless. You are going to make people jobless. They are going to lose their job. They are not going to be able to feed their families. They are not going to be able to do A, B, and C. And this is where I get a little bit insensitive, right? Because I don't think I'm insensitive about that, but I'm sure someone is going to say that. So I'm just going to say it before you say it. This is where I show my insensitivity. You are in a country where yesterday was our Independence Day. It was our independence, 178 years old, Liberia. And people in the diaspora, I think they celebrated more than people that are in Liberia. Again, it's out for debate. But in the state of Minnesota, there was this big parade that took center stage, Every part of the United States, people were having big, big celebration. In my local state where I live, there was a big celebration that we had here. And so we had a good time. We celebrated. We celebrated Mama Liberia. We celebrated Liberia's birthday, 178 years old. Man. But when you look at our unemployment, we brag or we boast of some of the best working class people in Africa or around the world. Our average age 25, right? The average 25. That is a prime group for people to be productive and start working and start making money. But most of our young people in the country, they are unfortunately they are unemployed. They are unemployed. About a month ago, or maybe early July, there was this call for employment or for presentation of your resume to go and apply for 1,000 position at the labor ministry. When I look at the video that my friend sent me, I would probably say there was over 5 or 6,000 young people over at the labor ministry, just looking to get their faces in there to get the opportunity to get one of those positions that the labor ministry are promising. And so I'm saying all of this to say when the transport ministry or from one ministry to start crying out, like you taking jobs away from people, I agree. Yes, people will lose that job, unfortunately. They will. They will lose that job. But again, here is where this whole idea comes into play that you have to kind of double think this. Yes, it is possible that you may lose your job. But I do believe though that those are going to be taking over at LTM, right? Those that will be heading the Liberia Traffic Management Office. Those individuals, I'm sure they have sat down, they have calculated, and they have probably done some research and be able to come up and say, yes, okay, even though we are with that office is going to close, but there are still employees over there at the transport ministry that were responsible for processing driver's license, responsible for processing vehicle registration. Those experienced individuals, we want them back. Those same individuals, nothing stopping them from submitting that resume to LTM to apply for those positions that LTM might need then to actually fill. And so qualified individuals are going to move in. They are going to be able to move in because they have worked that position. They understand where it is. They understand exactly what job needs to be done. LTM is not just going to go down the street or down Waterside and say, hey, we're looking for people to come and do our job. We're looking for people to fill this position. They're not going to do that. They're going to bring some of those most experienced people from transport ministry who used to serve in that role. Some of them can be carried over. That is how you build your workforce. That means you're not starting over. If LTM is not going to do that, they need to listen to my PC. I'm telling you, that's the way you do your workforce, where you don't start over. LTM do not just go down the street and start bringing your nieces, your cousins, your brothers, your sister, and giving them position. No, bring some of those experienced people for transport ministry who have served in that position for 5, 6, 7 years, who know exactly how it works, who knows exactly what they're doing. Bring those people into your fold and let them continue to do the work. And so even if 100 people lost a job, 100 people lost job at transport ministry, those one among those 100, 50 or even 60 should be able to come to LTM and continue in that capacity, in that particular role, to continue to function. The other 40, we know they are ghost employees. They do not exist. Some names are just on payroll. They don't even go to work. With all the girlfriends, the boyfriends, and all of these side chick men that are on the payroll, cut them out. Take them out. That's what I'm talking about, accountability. Because when you really come to look into it, how many people were standing in front of transport ministry protesting? How many? The real employees, how many of them were standing there protesting? Because you go down the street and you collect some of these unfortunate young people and just say, come and stand in front of a whole placard in your hand and protest. So what? If you want the country to move in the right direction, you have to make some of these hard decisions. You have to make things, do things that are uncomfortable. Do things that are uncomfortable. I promise you, if 100 people are going to lose their job, as the transport ministry is saying, or arguing or protesting, people losing their job, if people are going to lose their job, I promise you, if they are thinking 100 or 200 people, you add the number. If you look at the list, let them give you the list of people who are going to lose that job. Give that list to LTM. Let LTM look at it. Augustine Sharif, this Sharif, that or Sharif. Look at the list. And then you take that list and you now go and verify how many of those people were actually serving in a legitimate position. How many of those people were serving in legitimate position? And then if you can confirm that, out of the 200 that quote unquote losing a job, you can confirm that only 100 was legit. You take that 100 with you, the other 100, the side chicken and the bossman chicken and all the other chicken that they just put on payroll so the government can pay that bill, cut them out. Cut them out. So the government have to make some concession. And this concession, I don't think it's a bad one at all. It is just one person's voice. It's just my one voice, just my one opinion on this particular thing. And I know those of you who listening, who watching, you have your opinion on this, and I agree. And we are going to disagree on certain things, but that doesn't mean we are enemy. We'll disagree on it. We'll disagree. If folks only focus on Monrovia, then they worry about change. I don't think they are understanding the level of operation required to operate the LTM nationwide. Okay, yeah, I agree. I agree. I do. I look again. Like I said, we are going to disagree on some things, but we will agree for the most part on certain things. Every Liberian, whether you're in Liberia, whether you're in a diaspora, most of us, or almost every Liberian that I've engaged with, they want to see the country do better. Liberians want to see the country do better. And that is why every little news that is good news for Liberia, we celebrate it. When the president here in the U.S. said to President Boakai that, where did you learn English? You speak such a beautiful English. The next day, I promise you, I kid you not, this is true. The next day, I saw a T-shirt like this. I saw a T-shirt like that that said, I'm from Liberia, where we speak beautiful English." I kid you not. True story. And those T-shirts are still out there. Look on social media. Look on YouTube. On Google, you will find them. Those T-shirts are still there. I'm a proud Liberian from a country where we speak beautiful English. Every little good news that come about Liberia, we celebrate it because we want to see Liberia go somewhere. We want to see Liberia do better. The Yana boy in Monrovia who's pushing his wheelbarrow. That's how we used to call it. Because I was one of those guys. I push my wheelbarrow and in the day and the night I go sell my kerosene. At the time we didn't have LAC. It was right after the war. The Yana boy who's selling his little thing in a wheelbarrow, he wants to see Liberia better. And that is why when people go on the street and they interview the marketers, whether in Waterside or Broad Street or Dupo Road, you name it, when they interview the marketers, which administration do you think is better, we are or Boakai? Everybody has their opinion. They have their opinion because they want to see things better. Parents want to make sure that they can do something to pay their children's school fee and don't get stressed out. Husbands want to make sure that their women don't leave them for December. Boyfriends want to make sure that their women don't leave them for overseas relationship. Everybody want to see the country better. Because when everybody is doing something, they are productive, they're not going to be dependent on relying on another person. And so we want to say it. You see, somebody said they saw plenty of English T-shirt yesterday. I mean, we were celebrating in this country, that small thing, a small thing. Liberians, every little good news that come out, we celebrate it because we want to see our country do better. And so this is part of that change that we said we wanted. And right now, as I speak to you, I'm speaking to you as a Liberian. I'm not speaking to you as a politician. I'm not speaking to you as a partisan. I am affiliated with no political party in Liberia. But I welcome this particular news. I celebrate it. And the part of this particular organization's job that is just so funny to me is the part that talks about traffic violation. I want to see how they will enforce traffic violation in the country. I really want to see it because I think it's going to be a good thing. And I'm not going to lie, things are getting better. Since they designated certain area that kekes and motorcycle cannot go, the traffic is flowing. It's still congested, but it's flowing. It's flowing. Things are moving. But we have to be able to, traffic to enforce traffic violation. You have to make sure you got trained police officers out there. And our police officers, I think they are trained. Some of them have received some of the best training from the United States government, and some of them have been trained from other international partners. Our police officers are trained. I saw great police officers in Monrovia. There was this guy, I forgot his name, but I met him right at ELWA Junction. I was a passenger in the car, and we were actually just turning to get on that, how they call it, a boulevard, I guess, where they have all of those entertainment spots. We're turning, coming from Intown, turning to get in there. And our driver proceeded to give this guy something. And the police officer said, "No, man, thank you, man. I appreciate it, but no, thank you." He did not take what the driver was giving him. I was like, man, this is a trained police officer. This is a man who just want to do his job and get home to his family. So we got some great police officers who are doing that job. So in order to enforce a traffic violation, you have to have those great police officers on the roll, train them, equip them to be able. Traffic police is different from police officer who's going to go investigate crime. Those are two different expertise. And so you want to have these traffic police who are going to be just designated to investigate violation, whether somebody got hit from the back, somebody got hit from the side, whatever the situation is. You want to have those police officers equipped and doing that job properly. That's the first thing. And so you can't have one police officer at ELW Junction, and that same police officer is going to stretch as far as SKD Sports Complex. No, you have to have people who can actually do the job. And so to reinforce traffic violation, that is going to be a big one. But I think once it gets in place, and this LTM, Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated, they start to reinforce some of those things, you will see that people will be very careful. And reinforcing traffic violation is not just about accident happening, let's call the police. No, it's making sure to prevent some of those accidents before they happen. If somebody is driving with a faulty engine, they have a vehicle that is not drivable, they should not be on the street. If somebody is driving a car that every time he accelerates, the smoke from that car is filling the entire place, that car should not be on the street. That's part of the traffic violation. Certain cars should not be drivable on the street. If the car is certain age, where I sit in my country, every year, not every year, maybe once every now and then, I will get a document and say, "Hey, take your car to so and so place, so we can test the ozone, so we can test exactly what is coming out of it." So you take the car and they test it. If it does not meet requirement, you're not driving it, my friend. You're not going to get that vehicle registered. It's not going to be registered. So that's going to be part of the work that this organization is going to be doing, making sure that vehicles that should not be on the street, they are removed from the street. You're not just going to be driving and putting anything on the road, and then when you drive it, it breaks down in front of people and block traffic, and nobody can move because your car just broke down, the car that should not be on the road in the first place. That actually help with making sure that pollution is not emission control. That's exactly, my brother. So recommending emission control in Liberia, that's going to be part of that traffic violation thing. If it does not meet standard, you don't put it on the road. I've seen cars on the road when they turn it on, boom, when you see the smoke that comes from that thing, polluting everybody. People selling that cassava gravy on the road. People selling that roasted corn. They're getting smoke with engine that can't move. That car should not be on the street. That's part of controlling the traffic. That's part of the traffic control. And making sure that vehicles that need to be there, they are properly registered, they are tagged, they have all of that equipment, they got a document. And if that is happening, I promise you, police officers, they will have no choice. Why are you going to stop the man for? You stop the man and say, let me see your document and make sure you his registration, show you his driver's license, show you this. What is there to bribe you for? Nothing. But these bribery take place if for some reason you don't have your document and then you post something to police officer and police officer say go. And then tomorrow you do the same thing. So the organization is going to be doing some work. LTM is going to be doing some work. They are not just going to be sitting there behind the desk and say, let's shut down this particular section at the transport ministry. So I think we should look at this to be a welcoming news. We should look at this to be a very good thing. The previous administration, we have administration, they thought this was a good idea. That's why they introduced it. And Bwaka came, and I think this is how system works. This is how system works. When you have one administration, if that administration is not able to finish something, you go through everything they put on the agenda. You look at certain things and say, you know what? I didn't like this, but I like this. I'm going to follow through with it. You know, when Joe Biden, when he came after the first Trump administration, Trump has some tariff in place on China and other people. When Joe Biden came, he looked at certain things and said, you know what? I like that part of it. He left it in place. He did not change it. That is how you make your country better. You make yourself better and you move in that upward trajectory. And so I welcome this. Sad, yes, that some people are going to lose their job, but those that are going to lose that job, they are going to be very few, because if they were legit employees and they were doing that job that they should have been doing at the transport ministry, those same people will be tapped to come right to work for the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated. They will call them. That's what I would do if I was the managing director for the organization. That's what I would do. Bring people who know the department, who know the job, bring them to do the work. Take them from transport ministry, just bring them over to continue to do. But all the other loopholes, the other go by chub, all the other different things that people are doing, they're standing in front of there looking and say, oh, I can help you register your car, I can help you do this. Cut it out. Go to LTM, register your vehicle, and that's it. And again, one of the misconceptions that people have is this whole idea that those who currently have vehicle registered through the transport ministry, those registrations will not be valid. Come on, man. Come on. LTM is just taking over July 16. Just July 16. They will officially turn over to them. So if your vehicle were already registered, you register with Transport Ministry July 1st, July 2nd, that registration is still good until the next time it comes around to re-register the vehicle. And when it's time to re-register that vehicle, then you go to LTM. You don't go to Transport Ministry. If you go to Transport Ministry now to your Gorbachev friend and say, oh, let me give you a registration, when the police catches you on the road, you will be in some deep trouble, because it will not be legit. That's the thing. That is the thing. But whatever registration you have now is valid. And so don't listen to people carrying all these different news around like, oh, if you register a car January 1st and LTM taking over now, your vehicle is no longer valid, your registration is not, when the police catch you, they're going to take your car. Don't worry about that. They're trying to politicize this thing. And for me, I'm just looking at it from a neutral side, guys. I am not speaking for one administration or the other. I'm just looking at accountability. I'm looking at the benefit that it brings to the country, and I'm looking at the revenue generation, where now we can say, look, until LTM come in and they become crooked and they do their own Gorbachev thing, we will continue to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I think in the long run, it will benefit Liberia. That's my take on that. And I think, wow, I got 15 minutes to go here. I want to jump on the second thing that actually sitting on my heart here. You know, when President Bwaka came to the United States and they have that, they call it commercial meeting. They had that meeting with 4 other African leaders, Mauritania, I think Burkina Faso, Senegal. And when they met at the Oval Office, I think one of the things that people just kind of look at, just that, oh, okay, this is just a business concession. They are just going to be talking about, you know, how they will go about and benefit Liberia and benefit the U.S., mineral deals and all of those different things. Why that was all on the table, why that is all correct. There are some other things that were behind the table that maybe was not said that maybe we need to kind of consider. One of the things, you'll remember this. At one point in time, Liberia was placed on this so-called yellow list, where the United States government was saying, look, Liberia, you need to fix certain things, airport security, all of these different things. You need to put that in order. When you put that in order, then we'll get you off the list. But one of the things, though, that was actually being floated around was this idea that, hey, Liberia or any other country that is on our list, or especially those countries that were invited, one of the things that were being proposed was this whole idea of we want you to be a designated third country. And what that designation actually means is just mean the criminals or those that the United States government saying they are here illegally, that they want to get rid of, those individuals, we want to send them to your country. Because if their country don't want them, we want to send them to your country. So you agree to take them in. When you take them in, then yeah, we are good friends. We'll give you our support. We'll give you what some things that you need, and we'll make some concession for you. Friends, this is something we should definitely think about. Liberia, we have our own issue. We have our own drug problem. We have our own crime rate. We got people trying to break into people's houses every day. We got people being killed in the country, whether they were committing crime or we got all of these things taking place in our country. And I'm not saying this to make anybody look. I have been in the country. I try to go there every year, no issue whatsoever. I go there, I mind my business, turn around, come back. So I'm not saying sitting here talking about the place is a horrible place. No, but I'm just saying, even the country where I live, every day, just today, as I was sitting here in my very city, I heard news about a shooting that took place yesterday, last night. And so everywhere we live, crime will always be there because there are always going to be people who feel like getting up in the morning and going to work is too hard. The easy way to do is just to commit crime, get it easy, which in my opinion is the hardest thing to do because when you go commit crime, you never know if something happens, you could lose your life. And so with all of our issues in our different communities, in our different countries, now these individuals that are being sent, the first group of people that we heard about, they were sent to South Sudan. And those people are not from South Sudan. They got Chinese, they got Hispanic people, they got different nationalities, but because they were quote unquote illegal, they were actually arrested here, and the government does not want to keep them. They sent, I think it was 8 or 9 people, they sent it to South Sudan. And so now Sudan is actually stuck with these people, and they're going to try to incorporate them into their society. And those individuals, my problem with taking some of these individuals and bringing them to your country is this. If you send me to Liberia, that's my country. I know how to beg my friends and say, oh, my man, they deported me. You'll laugh at me a little bit, but I'll say, my man, give me some Gary. That's my country. I know how to get around there. And if I work hard, I know how to pick myself back up. That's my country. If I'm deported there, no problem. I can find my way. I know if I can live in Monrovia because Monrovia is too hard, I grew up in a village. I can go right back to the village and start my life over. I can do it. I don't have that problem. But if you send someone who is not from our country, you send them there simply because the United States government does not want them. They call them criminal drug dealers and all of these things. Say we're going to get rid of them and send them back to a third country and send them to Liberia. When you send those people there, who's going to be responsible for them? The government of Liberia? Where are they going to live? The government provide housing? But let's say you bring those people and you drop them in the society. Let's say the government of Liberia gave them place for them to stay for maybe few months. And after 90 days, you drop them off in our society. Those people they will have to survive. So they will go back to things that they know gave them money wherever they came from, whether it is crime, whether it's stealing, whether it's selling drugs, whether it's actually creating gangs. Because according to the US government, those are the kind of people they're getting rid of: gangsters, drug dealers, armed robbers. So you take those kind of people who are actually set in their mind, they know exactly how to manipulate the system, they know how to get around, and you bring them, you drop them in our society. Without jobs, without stability, they will go back to the very thing that they know how to do best to get money. We think right now we're crying about crime, but it could only get worse from there. It could only get worse from there. And so basically, I don't know this for a fact, so I don't want to kind of like put it out there like this is what the government library is doing. No, but at least I was able to see what is happening. I've done some research to see what was proposed to other countries, African countries, and some countries have accepted, some countries have rejected. And those countries that rejected, they have been put on a very severe punishment. Okay, severe punishment. No financial support, and no, I mean, very high tariffs and all these different things. It's happening. And so that's something we need to keep our eyes on. We need to keep our eyes on that. And we will hope and pray that if it comes down to that, our government will make the right decision for our people and say, look, if we're not going to get the support, we're not going to get the support. But we are not going to take on individuals that you don't want in your country and bring them to Liberia simply because we need financial support from you. We're not going to do that. We got to stand up for what is right. We got to stand up and do the right thing for our people. Because not only are we going to be risking the lives of our people, but we are going to be creating a lawless society. Because when these individuals come in, when they come in, they have to survive and they will go back to their old tricks. They will go back to what they know to do best. They will go back to doing the things that actually sustain them where they are being removed from. And we think today our young people are struggling, but gang activities could actually go up. All sort of crimes could be the result of this. And so being designated as a third country is not a beautiful thing. It's not as rosy as people think it might be. And so when we come down to that, friends, I would just hope again that our government will do the right thing. But actually, that's where I want to kind of stop this conversation for today. And those of you who are joining me on YouTube and Facebook, again, I said thank you for joining me. Those of you who join me on Freedom FM 87.9, I said thank you for joining me. Next week we will be here. We'll have the full team here next week. Actually, the full team is going to be here. Dr. George is going to be here. Dr. Positive, too many doctors. They're all going to be here, and I will be here. And we plan to bring you another exciting edition of Uncover. That's going to be the first Sunday in August. But everything that we have discussed today, guys, your opinion is super important. It is just one man's opinion. It's my voice that you heard. That's my opinion. You may disagree with me all you want, whether it comes to the transport ministry situation, LTM, or whether it comes to being designated as a third country, whether it comes to those two things. You might disagree with me, and I will take your disagreement respectfully, and I will also take your disagreement respectfully. But the one thing that we should not do is to actually be mean spirited towards one another. We should not be mean spirited towards one another. I think when it comes down to it, like I've been saying, when it comes down to it, you and myself, we want the very best for Liberia. We want to make sure that whatever becomes of Liberia is beneficial not just for us, but our children and our children's children. We want Liberia to survive and be here for a long time. And sometimes change is difficult. I'm one of those guys who I'm set in my ways. I let things to be certain ways. If I get to my office, I can always tell who messed with my desk and who moved things around. I can always tell because I put pen where I took it from. If I took this pen, I'll put it right back where it goes. I'm set. If I position my chair, I know exactly how I left my chair. So I'm a guy who I'm set in my way. And because of that, change can be difficult for me. It's hard for me to accept change. But in order for us to be able to see Liberia move in a positive direction, we must be able to allow some of these changes to take place. Change that will actually be in a very good trajectory to move Liberia in an upward trajectory. Liberians are celebrated all around the world, whether it's here in the United States, whether it's in Liberia, we are being celebrated. We are doing great things. We should not only be known for the country, the oldest African republic, but we don't have anything to show for it. We must be proud of our age. And equally so, we must be able to stand up and be prideful of what we have done with that wisdom. Because with age comes wisdom, right? We should be proud of that and showcase what we have done. Friends, two things. Two things happened, I believe it was last year, that actually make Liberians to celebrate or just this amazing thing that Liberians are celebrating. When our elections were held in Liberia and the way we transfer power, kudos to President George Weah, the way he handled himself, the way the power was transitioned, it put Liberia on a different level. Other African countries took note. Other European countries took note. The Western nations, they took note. And Liberians were getting accolades left and right. We are going somewhere. We are doing something positive. We are going somewhere. Let us continue this upward climb. Forget the politics. Let politics not divide us. If CDC administration does something good, celebrate that because it is something good. If UP administration does something good, celebrate that because it is in the long run. I have a good friend, Stephen Johnson. Every time he posts something, when someone says something positive about Liberia, he will always say, da, 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 da. In the end, Liberia wins. Stephen always says that. Liberia wins. One of our mutual friends, Mukro Saka, he just had a technology symposium with LEC. And he posted that. We were just like, oh man, good to go. Congratulations. You did a great job. Stephen came and he said, Liberia wins. And that is exactly what we want. In the long run, it does not matter my own personal thing. It does not matter my own personal thing, not your own personal thing. But we all should put Liberia first because when Liberia does better, we all win together as a team. And so, on this note, friends, I'd like to say good night. I'd like to say thank you for joining me. Those here in the United States, those on YouTube and Facebook, we say thank you for joining me this afternoon. And those in Liberia, I say good night to you. And by God's grace, we will see you next week, Sunday, with another fresh edition of Uncover. Stay safe, and thank you to our friends at Freedom FM 87.9 in Monrovia. Christopher and the team, we say thank you for carrying this broadcast live. And hopefully we will see each and every one of you guys next week on another edition of Liberia Shall Rise Uncover segment. Stay safe and God bless you all.